Oh man, built a lot of suspense on that one. I realized right at 10 a.m. we have the CrossFit podcast going down, and there's no way I'm competing with the very handsome James Hobart. And I don't know if you guys have been watching a lot of the CrossFit podcasts recently, but they are so lucky to have James. He's been absolutely crushing that host role. And regardless of who the guest is on, like who he has on, he's always manages to turn it into straight gold. So hopefully we can follow that act up. I think he had Amanda Harry on, not Hari, although majority of the people know and still call her Harry regardless. What's up, everybody? We're back. We got the show back in action here. What's up, Sevon? Party time. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We got a lot of catching up to do. Some of this stuff is just going to be beating the old dead horse here on the sale because I don't know about you guys, but I've been waiting for next week in October 7th and just after this and just after that to find out who the hell is actually buying CrossFit and what is going on. Although, the funny part about it is every single time there's this new buyer that comes out, there's all this like hysteria around it. And then at first it's one of those situations where you're like, oh, who cares? This probably is just nothing. It's another one of those, people coming out of the woodwork saying they're going to buy it. Then it'll fizzle out. And then you get some new information. And you're like, well, actually, shit, is this going to be the time? Are these going to be the people? So we'll discuss that a little bit. I had the pleasure of going over to Cookeville, Tennessee and hanging out with Rich Froning and gang over at Mayhem. And what the hell are they doing over there? What is happening? And I know you guys have seen some of the stuff on the show here as we try to decipher what in the world is going on with their with the Mayhem gym stuff and what exactly it is that they're offering. So hopefully we'll be able to shed some light on that after having actually been through the actual offerings. I would call it more coaching development and classroom management. And then we'll give some predictions at the end here. And I'm curious as to like what you guys are. You guys just generally just fatigued of the CrossFit sale talk? I mean, I know that there is a group of people that I discuss it with quite often, and everybody at the point now is where it's just kind of like fizzled out almost. It's I mean, how much longer can you hold on to this next week? And these are going to be the guys, and and this is going to be the group, and then nothing ever happens from it. One of the things that I want to start discussing here is some comments. We recently posted or recycled, let's say, some old CrossFit pop culture clips. Jay Vera helped kind of curate them, put them together. And one of the recent ones that has gotten a lot of attention is the old 60 Minutes interview with Greg. And it never ceases to amaze me. Number one, the amount of praise that comes in those comment sections. I think I posted one as a trial reel. For those of you guys that don't know, you have this option where you can post a trial reel and it serves to people that do not follow you, kind of like this new audience, but are still into the same stuff that you post. So in this case, a bunch of people that are into CrossFit or look at CrossFit stuff that don't actually follow me. And that reel took off quite a bit. It got like 800,000 something views. And then I reposted the same exact thing like a day later and on my feed. And that reel now I think has gotten like 915,000. So 1.7 million collectively. And the comment section in there is insane. And it still shows me too that there's so much work to be done. There's still so much to be talked about in terms of CrossFit and its efficacy and validating the methodology. And it's interesting because a while back I heard a quote from a CrossFit exec. I don't remember which one, or maybe I do. I'm just not going to tell you. And they said, I hope we don't move so far away from the core of the message that someone sometime later picks it up and presents it almost as if it's novel. Meaning, CrossFit essentially was the first methodology that did this like hybrid athlete, as they're calling it now, right? It took elements of fitness that produced the best results and it put them together, put a clock to it, and it developed what we know now to be a CrossFit style or a CrossFit methodology. And as we move further and further away from the core of what that is, this new hybrid athlete model comes back in, and you have something like High Rocks, which is just an event that is taking place, not necessarily a methodology, and it almost looks like it's new. People that are being introduced to it are like, yeah, this is crazy. Check this out. And then they do shitty wall balls at the end. And we're sitting here like smacking our heads because we're like, dude, we've been doing that for 20 years. What are you talking about? So it reminds me a little bit of that. And when you look through the comment section on there, there's in majority guys, if you've been doing CrossFit for a long time, you've heard them all, right? My favorite one is, oh, my PT practice loves CrossFit because that's how I get all my new customers. Or you have this, the other one too that drove me a little nuts here was the one particularly around Greg's appearance in that 60-minute interview. And it was funny because people were like, oh, you're following this guy, or like, why would I follow any fitness advice this guy has? And clearly they're missing the message, and it didn't create enough curiosity in them to go ahead and actually learn more about what CrossFit methodology is and Greg's contribution to the health and fitness space. And the reason why that comment drives me absolutely nuts is like, show me one NFL coach, or shit, better yet, a team owner in the NFL that looks like they could get out on the field and play ball. None of them ever. Some of the best coaches in their respective fields, when you look at them, nobody is thinking, oh yeah, there's Cuss, he's gonna go and box like Mike Tyson. Like, that's not typically how you would see it in a coach. So it drives me insane when people would get so caught up in that. But one thing that I was thinking about that is very particular to the fitness industry is the fact that majority of the people would be sold a bunch of shit just by the way somebody looks. And so you see these like fitness or fitness influence style people, and they're all shredded up, especially the dudes there or the chicks are. And like half of the time you're looking at it and you're like, okay, like this dude's on like a ton of gear, and then he's trying to sell you some program or some diet that they don't even follow, that they don't even do. Like if they sold you the actual supplement stack and the steroid stack that they're taking, you would have more respect for them, because you're like, yeah, okay, cool, this is exactly what I did. Kind of reminds me of the Train Like Rich stuff, where he just put his programming out there and was like, here it is, follow it. And you realize most people can't be like Rich, even when given the workouts. And that's the same for a lot of those fitness influencers. You're probably not going to look like them due to the genetics, even if you took all the same shit they were taking. But it just never ceases to amaze me that by the way somebody will look would massively influence the behavior of other people following them, even though they know it's like smoke and mirrors, so to speak. And it was just an interesting tidbit there, which just goes back to like the whole entire thing about the methodology and being able to actually explain it in a million different ways and articulate it in a way that resonates across with everybody in the health and fitness industry, that everybody could take a piece away from it. And in the objections inside a lot of those comments, like you can't do high repetition Olympic weightlifting, which is like, it's just crazy to me. So like at what point does the snatch turn dangerous? Is it reps 1 through 15? Is it reps 15 through 30? And then somebody would say, no, well, it's when the technique falls apart. And for some people, that's rep number 1 when they're first learning. So it makes no sense in the saying like, you do high skill movements under fatigue and that's dangerous. It's like, yeah, if you're doing anything that you don't quite know the mechanics of and the safety of, and then you try to do it quick, it's going to be dangerous. And the reason why I bring up those comments in particular, outside of just saying we need to continue to articulate the methodology and what we do, but it kind of leads me into everything that happened over at Mayhem. So I was graciously invited out to CrossFit Mayhem from Rich and the team over there, Rich and Austin, and spent most of Saturday or all of Saturday with them. And it was a 2-day thing. It was all Saturday, most of Sunday. And unfortunately, I had to fly back, so I didn't get to see the second half of it on Sunday. But I will say that there is something special that they got brewing there. Now, has it been articulated really well as far as what it is and why you should go do the thing in some of the podcasts? No. But Hiller makes a good point. He says maybe all this is marketing. And if you watch one of the recent shows he did, he was like, what's happening with him and Kalipa? What are Rich and them actually doing over there? And he says, like, I hope it's a marketing piece because it feels like they don't tell you. And it's true, because there's a lot of this. You're going to get help and people are going to help the people, and we're going to have conversations, and you still can't quite put your finger on like, what the hell does that mean? Well, when I went there, I figured out exactly what it means. And honestly, I think they're doing a pretty damn good job of it. I don't think that this is a play to actually create their own CrossFit. I think the stuff that they're offering over there is actually, and they said this in one of the more recent podcasts, that it kind of fills the gaps between what you learn at the L1 and the L2 and helps you bring that into a CrossFit gym. So what does that mean exactly? Well, they put up Mayhem programming up on the wall, and they were like, okay, if your gym doesn't have this equipment, if your gym doesn't have the space to do this workout, if the people that are in your gym, this isn't appropriate for it, like, how do we adjust this workout and package it for your gym, for the logistics of your gym, and for the athletes that are in front of you, or the people that are in front of you, the humans? And that was a surprise, because when they really went over the programming, they were like, you guys need to use this as a foundation, not just to copy paste, do exactly what we say. And the ability for Darren that was there to stand up front of the group and be like, hey, if you don't have enough time or your coaches aren't able to execute on this front squat and this Metcon, then you need to throw this out, or you need to switch this for that. I thought was really good, because sometimes people, especially programmers, they get so caught up in the way that it's programmed, the order that it's programmed, and what they program, that if you were to try to adjust any of it, they would like hate you for it. And I've seen that happen quite a bit. And I get that. Like, if you are going to follow a program, it's like, follow the program. But when it comes to affiliates and them using Mayhem programming, it was nice to see that they encouraged you to adjust it to your gym and to your people. And so we did some exercises. Now, this is the portion where I think they're trying to communicate people helping people with it, because they respected everybody as gym owners and coaches. So it was basic level stuff, but it allowed for group discussion. So here's an example of what we did. They wrote up on the board a week's worth of Mayhem programming. Todd, who presented that lecture, said, okay, I'm going to do this on Thursday. We have a benchmark workout that we're completing. Here's what I want my gym to do. Now, how am I going to adjust this, or do I need to adjust this to be able to put it in front of my members? So on here, Sean Letterman, Mayhem programming is dope. Lots of gyms follow it. So they're launching a scaling academy. No. Nope, because it's not about take your pull-ups that are chest to bar and make them pull-ups. The discussion wasn't about that. It was about saying, okay, so here's the logistics that I have of my gym. Here's the space that I have in my gym. How should I be taking this workout and adjusting it to make it appropriate for the people that are in front of me? And it could be a lecture on programming, you could say that, but it wasn't necessarily about scaling the movements. And going back to the part of the collaboration portion of it, or the people helping people, as Hiller kept playing in his recent video about it, was that after they gave the lecture on the discussion, there was a little bit of time for, Q&A, as there normally are in those things. And then afterwards, they broke us out into groups and were literally like, okay, write up the programming, make the adjustments, and then we're going to discuss exactly what you changed and why you changed it. And some people, like myself, when I did it, I started omitting a bunch of stuff, just because I know that if I have a class of 15, that to get through a strength portion in a Metcon inside certain days is going to be impossible, and it wouldn't allow me enough time to actually coach the members on what I really want them to get out of the day or the workout. And there was quite a few people that went in there, were making lots of adjustments to it. So you still have the foundation of the program, but it was teaching them to be intelligent about it, which is like, why is everything where it is? What adjustments would you make and why? Present this to the group. And so that way everybody else could kind of learn from that. And the interesting thing was, there was a lot of people there that were like, hey, thank you for saying that, because for some reason I thought if I changed anything with it, that I wouldn't be following it, or that I would get in some sort of trouble. And I thought that that was a really good chunk of talking about programming, because it also led into this larger discussion around the time you need to coach, what certain coaches are capable of at their level in their journey. So if you're newer, much harder to pull off a bunch of things in class with a class of 15 or 20 people. Or if you get a surprise deal where you have 3 new people that have walked into your gym, and then that class size grows from your normal, let's say 8 people to 12, and a few of those people are new, like, what are the options for you there to make adjustments? And that to me is huge, because even with the programming, and I write all the programming here at CFL, but even when you write the programming, you want your coaches to be thinking shooters. You want them to be able to read the room, make any adjustments necessary, so that that workout could flow and give the people that are standing in front of them the best possible experience while still getting a really great workout in. And so I don't think that there's enough thinking shooters as coaches. I've traveled to a couple affiliates. I haven't done some list of 300 or something, but I've been in my fair share of drop-ins, and you could see right away when coaches kind of get overwhelmed, or where they're unable to make adjustments, or where they just don't have the capability to even potentially teach like a higher skill movement to a group like that. Mason Startup, isn't common sense, brother? Unfortunately, no. It is not common sense at all. There is a lot of development in total that needs to happen with a lot of the affiliate owners and coaches. That goes for anything, though. I'm not picking on CrossFit affiliate owners or anything negative about that. That just literally needs to be something that is taught and thought about and talked about a lot more. So no, it isn't common sense. By the way, your machines video was great and completely validated Sevon saying all the machines were stupid. If you guys haven't seen that video yet, you should definitely go check it out. So no, it's not common sense. So that's one example of something that we did there. The other example where there was actually a lot of group discussion was how you effectively onboard members into your gym, which is a really great discussion to have, because I've known a lot of gyms that have done it and morphed it and changed it over multiple years. And each gym has each affiliate has its own flavor or its own twist on it. Now, you guys heard me talk about the way that I've done it before. I've tried all sorts of different methods where you do a whole week and you basically teach a mini L1. CrossFit Mayhem joked when they first opened that they literally like taught you the mini L1 over the course of like 4 days. There was another funny comment where Rich said back in the day, they just used to have you do a wall ball burpee test as a workout. And they were wondering why nobody ever came back. And things like that are actually important to have those discussions, because you would still be surprised at how many gyms or coaches haven't really adjusted their onboarding program or do something like, all right, we're just going to do a wall ball burpee test and see if you survive it. And if you do, you come back the next day, then we know we're probably going to have you for a long time as a member. And I think the space is really evolving, not only the CrossFit space, but the health and fitness space in total. We are competing with more gyms that are imitating what CrossFit is doing. And so if we don't have some sort of continuous growth in the way that we present or package CrossFit to people, or the way that we're onboarding our members, you'll lose out to some of these lesser valuable, I don't know, lesser valuable is the right word, but some of these lesser products in the area, simply because they're able to onboard and package it a little bit better by putting some more thought into that. So that was great, because there was like a good roundtable discussion about, hey, what are you doing? What have you tried in the past? Some funny stories. I remember one time we put somebody through a baseline workout, which was like the row, squats, sit-ups, pull-ups, if you guys remember that one from back in the day. And at the end, they did really well. They were like an ex-athlete or something. And I was like, man, that didn't really seem like they got a good workout. You know what? I'm going to introduce them to an assault bike. And I had them go hard on an assault bike for like a minute off, minute on. We did like 5 rounds or whatever. And needless to say, I walked back outside and this person is still sitting in their car, face completely pale, like 30 minutes later. And I was like, hey, you all right? And they're like, yeah, I just got really sick. And yeah, there was definitely a bad intro to CrossFit. Needless to say, they never came back. Barbell spin, where's Rich? I sent him a link. I don't know where he's at. Clickbait. I didn't promise him in the show. Get out of here. As far as it goes with the Jason Khalipa thing, I mean, simply put, the way that I understand it is Mayhem just acquired the NC Fit gyms. Jason is doing his train hard thing with the men's, the men's workouts in the parking lots in the mornings. And that's like expanding as he's bringing that to more people that want to lead their own groups. I really don't know what that looks like as a business. And to be honest, I had a conversation with him. I sat next to him on the plane when we flew out to AffiliateCon in Dallas. And he doesn't either. And not in a bad sense. He's just like, no, this is what I'm doing. I feel called to do it. I enjoy it. I'm just going to continue to grow it and see what happens from it. So I think that was a good move on his part, because if your attention is drifting away from the NC Fit or the NC Fit programming or the gyms or whatever the case may be, and he knows that he could hand those gyms off to Mayhem and they're going to get taken care of. And Jason could still have a small role. Maybe that's just like being out in front of the group, like social media wise. Maybe that's participating in some of the events. Maybe that's bringing what he's doing with the guys training to their programming or whatever. I think it was a good move on his part, because now those gyms will get taken care of underneath that Mayhem umbrella. So there it is. Very simply, Mayhem acquired CrossFit, or Mayhem acquired NC Fit. And if you were an NC Fit gym, now you're in a Mayhem gym, and Jason's kind of there to make sure that transformation happens smoothly. So I don't know. They may have thought that they got that across. I think if you watched the just the clips, you probably didn't decipher that from the Instagram clips. If you watched the whole show, maybe you did, and there might be a reason why they just didn't come out and say, "Hey, if you're an NC Fit gym, now you're a Mayhem gym, and we acquired NC Fit." Maybe they thought that would scare people off or something like that. Mayhem acquired CrossFit. We don't know. No, that's our friend. That's our buddy Wade. And we'll get into that shortly here. And I do know that Wade has made his weight around. Get it? It's a pun. That was terrible. Let's do this. And it's had conversations with quite a few people in the space, which is interesting. There's been mixed feelings about him, but sticking to the Mayhem thing for right now. We are buds that way. Oh, you call him Deebs. Oh, good. That's awesome. So somebody straight up asked in one of the very first classroom lectures that we were at, they raised their hand and they said, "Hey, two-part question. Number one, are you guys going to be involved in the sale of CrossFit and then involved with CrossFit? And number two, our affiliateship is coming up. Do we still affiliate with CrossFit? What is your suggestion?" And right away, Rich and Austin both said, no, we have no plans to compete with CrossFit. Austin then defined CrossFit as a licensing and education company that does the L1, the L2, L3, maybe L4, maybe L12, whatever it is. And they have a licensing model for gyms. And he said that we do not want to get into that business, that we provide programming and tools and resources for coaches at a higher level than CrossFit currently is. You could argue that if they brought back the journal, that would be something similar with CrossFit, but the journal's nowhere to be found. So we got this void being filled. The second part of that question was, should I still affiliate with CrossFit? And Rich said right away, yes. Like there was no hesitation on his part as if you should or if you shouldn't. He was just straight up like, yeah, you should. Like, we got CrossFit here. We do CrossFit. We believe 100% in the methodology, and we're gonna be affiliated, and that's what we're going with for now until anything changes. But he didn't say it in a way of like until it changes, until the sell happens or anything like that. It was just like, for the foreseeable future, we are a CrossFit gym. Austin's response was the same, and he said, hey, as far as it stands right now, if you pay the $4,500, which comes down to $375 a month or whatever it is, he goes, then yeah, it's still worth it, because majority of the people are looking for a CrossFit gym. Now, they're not at the place, and they recognize this, that if you put Mayhem Gym in front of your website and you don't have CrossFit there, that more people will show up because it says Mayhem. They're like, we know that CrossFit brand is going to have more recognizability. It's going to bring more people to your front door. And frankly, not a lot of people know what exactly a Mayhem Gym is. So I thought that those were both really good responses coming from them, because I know a lot of people were thinking, hey, Mayhem is now competing with CrossFit. Mayhem is going to be the next CrossFit. And I didn't get that vibe at all from it. So the one interesting thing was, Judy Reed, hi, Judy. I looked back at one of the other shows we did, the CrossFit State of the Union, and I saw that you like timestamped everything. That's very kind of you. And you've done that on a bunch of other shows. That's really nice. Thank you. Isn't that what Best Hour does? So the delineation in my mind here is the fact that Best Hour of their day offers very specific systems on sales and operations of a gym, in terms of how do I keep my members happy? How do I keep, retention high? Kind of the same thing there. but like, what system do I use to bring in somebody from my website into my, you know, front door, and then get them a part of the gym? How do I pay the bills? You know, which bills should I consider? Like all of that type of stuff. Not how you pay the bills, but like, do you keep a profit and loss? And essentially teaches like the business side of stuff. What I got from Mayhem was the classroom experience. Like, what does that look like? What should it look like? What should it feel like? And then coaching development. Like, you got your L1, awesome. You got your L2, great. That's the start of the journey. But like, how do we now manage a classroom? How do we make sure that we're getting the programming set? We're able to look at the program and apply it to the people in front of us. So I know it's very nuanced in that sense, but if you're an affiliate owner and you're a coach, it's pretty obvious that you have those differences, and they don't get into each other's lane there at all. Like, I asked the question, which was funny because Rich goes, "Oh boy, here we go." And like, I was sitting towards the back of the room, actually next to Josh Hicks, who has been the head of medical for the games for years. And the whole room like turned to like be like, "Oh boy, what's this guy going to say?" Which was kind of funny. But I asked them and I said, "Hey, with all the gyms that you're working with, do you have like specific data on where are the constraints, meaning like, where is the business not growing and what could they do to fix those so your gym grows and continues to become profitable? Have you taken that data in and then created like a roadmap or systems and stuff for the gym?" And they basically were like, "Nope, that's going to be best hour of their day's job. And we basically are doing coaching development and classroom experience." And so you could see that it makes sense for them to be partnered together, because you have one end of it and the other, business systems versus what happens on the classroom floor. And those are two very different things. So in a nutshell, would I recommend that you go to it? Absolutely. If you're a Mayhem gym, you should definitely go and attend that. Period. That's what it is. I think you'll get a lot of insight on the programming. It'll be a great time to see how other people are using the programming, as well as learning and understanding how you kind of bring people into the gym and all that. Now, I personally don't know. And there's a difference between how do I bring them into the gym with like a no sweat intro and like an orientation and like a sales process, right? That's going to be more of the best hour job. That's like where the 2-rim business type stuff, like that is where that comes in. They're talking about like, what do I actually teach? How do I adjust the movements? Like that type of stuff in terms of bringing in somebody new to the gym. And so I don't think that these are competing products of CrossFit. I honestly think too that CrossFit should be elevating these things, because in all of them too, by the way, I don't think they should necessarily like stick with just one, but it reminds me a little bit like the subject matter experts back in the day, that when it got outside of the L1 and L2 education in licensing for affiliates, that they provide the tools and partners necessary that gyms could go and take and continue their education and see what other gyms are doing and apply it to theirs. And that levels up all the CrossFit affiliates. And so to tie that in with the comments that I was talking about earlier, if you have a community that is focused on growth, focused on professionalizing the trainer, and focused on a really great classroom experience, so we could identify exactly what that looks like, the whole entire, high tides rise all ship thing comes into play. Because the biggest concern, and I noticed this in the comments too, was like quality control from gym to gym. And we hear that a lot from affiliate owners too. Now, you're going to have quality control problems all over the place. Like you have McDonald's or Starbucks, which are just completely built off the same systems and have multiple markers in place to keep the quality control there. And it still fucks up all the time. You guys know the deal. Like I go to this Starbucks on this street because they like always do it right. The one right up the street always sucks. So you're never going to avoid that in totality. But I do think that there's a place for what they're doing and what they are and what they're offering in the community here. Oh, so Mayhem is launching coaching development courses. That to me would tie it up in a nutshell. If I had to just give it one thing, yeah, yes, this is coaching development. Not in the sense of seeing and correcting movement. Okay. Now I know that's really nuanced, but it has to be talked about because, and Sevon, I'll give you a great example. Is you were talking about how not the least important, but one of the smaller portions of what Dave does for the CrossFit Games is the programming, and it's all the other shit that he does that goes into the CrossFit Games that makes it as special as what it is. So that's the same, in my opinion, when it comes to coaching. The seeing correcting movement, super important. You got to be able to like see somebody, see a fault in the mechanics, be able to communicate effectively how to correct that fault. But that's a small portion of what you do when you're actually leading a large group class on the floor. And by large group, I mean anything more than like 5 or more people. So that's the portion that they teach, is the other stuff around that. And having been their first one, I thought the lectures were great. I thought there was a lot to take away from. It is very basic though. And to be honest, that's probably a great place to start. Majority of the gym owners there and the ones that I've seen could all use a lot of basics in terms of just running a great class. And so, yeah, it's hard to, Cody, what's up, dude? I would even call it professional development. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Judy, don't you all offer coaching development? And I think that, Judy, is why they partnered with Mayhem, because when you have somebody who has so many gyms that are on your programming, it kind of makes sense to say, okay, well, we could affect these gyms the most because they're already all working with Mayhem, and move into the territory of more coaching development classroom experience. Souza, do you know how hard it is to bring people into a free CrossFit gym? Very hard. Yeah, I completely agree. And I don't even know that the free, like bringing a gym in for free or a new member with like a free class is the right approach. I think it's worked in the past. I don't know if you're able to do that now. I think there's definitely something to be said about appealing to a lot of other like metrics and data, and having a conversation with them in like an orientation about what their goals are, and then kind of, for lack of better words, trick them into the CrossFit methodology. And I was successful with this quite a bit when I used to do business to business stuff prior to COVID with the gym. Whereas like I would come in and I would speak the same language. And some of you guys have heard me talk about this before, where I would say, you know, I put a chair out and say, learn to sit like a champion. And I wouldn't talk about CrossFit at all. And I would teach them how to like sit down on the chair and essentially teach them the air squat. Then I would move the chair away and I would say, hey, can you go a little lower? And we would get them like their hip crease below parallel. And I was like, that's the best thing you could do for your low back pain, because if you were able to squat in full range of motion and continue to develop that, it'll make you stronger, you know, blah, 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 blah. So it almost like Trojan horse the CrossFit methodology in, because everybody already has their preconceived ideas about CrossFit. So if you're able to package it in a way that, that resonates with the person in front of you, and then back yourself into it, it works really good. No, my gym is 100% free, no membership. Oh shit. That's what you meant. You know what, too? 100% free might even be the issue. Let me explain. We're having the jump rope seminar, by the way, that is open to the public. So if you're in the Bay Area and you're around Livermore close enough, you want to come to the jump rope clinic. It is going to be Saturday, the 20th, 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Sebhan will be here. He'll be bringing the 3 Playing Brothers. It'll be a good time. We got a bunch of people coming in. And I made that $40. I could have made it for free. I thought about making it for free. And I was like, if I do that, a bunch of people are going to sign up and then they're not going to show up. So there's something to be said by allowing a low price or a low barrier to entry, but making people have skin in the game somehow. Even if it's like, you know, you'll whatever, if they come a certain amount of time, you just put it on hold like you do at a hotel or something, where like it's an incidental thing. I don't know. But if you make stuff free, it's people tend to like not value it at all. Judy Reed, like and subscribe to 3 Playing Brothers YouTube. Yeah, if you guys aren't watching those vlogs, you yeah, you're missing out. You're missing out. Judy, like Souza said, yes, we do. And this is an extension of that to affect more gyms all in one place. Yeah, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. Like I don't know how many affiliates they have, Mayhem, but I think it's a lot. Like if you look like the gym up the street from me follows Mayhem. I've looked up some other gyms like in other areas, and like you could see if they have their workouts on the website, like you're like, okay, that's Mayhem. Like you have the whole entire, there's a lot of gyms. There's probably like 1,000 of them, maybe. I don't know. Don't explain why you're charging for it. You should. Yeah. I think so too. I think so too. Durag Vince. All right. I don't bother with affiliates. I just dumped 10,000 on Rogue equipment in Facebook Marketplace and put it in my garage. I could program for myself. Yeah, that's great. A lot of people could do the home gym thing and be successful with that. I can to an extent. I don't mind it, but I would much rather work out with a class. I would much rather work out with a class. Anthony Adams. I love programming for myself. Shit is so fun. Me too. I will be honest. Like, I think that it's great that there's tools like Mayhem and what they offer, and like even the other ones like Proven, Sentinel, like JR's Program Reaper for the Hate. Like, I think those are all great, especially if you're not really into programming, that you could get it from people that are super into it and will develop like a good is that my phone ringing or someone else's? That'll develop a good product on the floor. But I'm old school. I honestly think that if you're an affiliate owner or a head coach of an affiliate, like, you should definitely be making your own workouts. You should definitely be doing your own programming. There's something to be said about programming in the environment you're in, using certain things that you could only use like at your gym, and mixing it up like that. So I really like the gyms that program for themselves, but I also understand that there's a lot of roles to be filled in the gym, and for majority of people, it's just better to outsource it. Suffering alone is top tier. I'll be crying in my garage. Thanks. I understand that too. One thing I was just talking about is for my birthday, majority of you guys know this because Sevon did some wellness checks, called in and made sure I was still alive. But I ran 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. It was like really popular back in the day. Goggins did it with like Jesse Itzler, wrote about it in his book. And then for a while, it became kind of this challenge. I was like years ago. And I've always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to do that. And I just was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. And so I just picked Saturday at 8 p.m. was my first run. And I did every 4 hours until 4 p.m. on Monday afternoon. And I get it. Like, I didn't post anything about it. I didn't really make a big deal about it because I just wanted it to be one of those situations where, like, if I decided to quit, like, nobody was going to know. So it wasn't, I talked about like posting something. So I had this external, motivation or accountability or doing something like that. And I was like, well, maybe I'll get a couple into them first and then do some sort of post. And then afterwards I was like, no, you know what? Like, even if I quit, like, no, I don't want the external pressure. I want it to be like the only reason to finish this and to do it was because I set out that I was going to do it and I was just going to finish it. Like, not because I was afraid of somebody's opinion online if I didn't make it through the whole thing, or if I posted about it and then quit, or whatever the case may be. And so I get the suffering alone. Like, sometimes you just have to go do that and challenge yourself. So I completely understand that. The point I'm making, though, is I didn't train for that at all. I was running maybe a little bit more once a week or twice a week. And for not even that long. And then prior to actually doing all 48 miles, I hadn't run that much the weeks leading up. And because I just show up and do the CrossFit class here at Cross the Livermore 4 to 5 times a week, I was prepared to actually make it through that whole entire thing, like physically, I would say. Left a little pull on my feet and some other stuff, but that's to be expected. All in all, I was like strong enough and fit enough to be able to complete it. And it's things like that we should be talking more about with CrossFit. A lot of the times when the members first show up and we do their orientation, I'm like, cool. So what do you like to do outside of the gym? Like, what do you like to do to be physical? Some people are like, I don't do anything, so I need this as my outlet. But other people, I really enjoy hiking, and I have this goal. I want to hike Half Dome. I really enjoy wakeboarding, and it's been years since I've done it. And I just want my body to be durable and capable to be able to get back on my wakeboard. There's all these things that people have that they enjoy doing, and they want the physical freedom to be able to do it and to be able to do it at a higher level. I mean, we all know that if you have some sort of hobby like that, it's nice to be able to improve, whether that improvement on the hike is just the fact that I could go double the distance I used to be able to, and I feel great and my body feels great the next day. And so kind of tying that in a bow with being able to package what CrossFit could do for you, other than the fact of just getting better at CrossFit, to get better at CrossFit, to be able to compete in the quote unquote sport. And that, I think, is where we went too far. I think the open And we'll get into this discussion a little bit with the sale and the prediction here, but I think the open is probably one of the most important things that we could do for CrossFit and for the growth of CrossFit. And I know I've had these debates on here with Sevon before, where I've said on the other side of that line, like sports gone too far, like we need to completely just rip it out. But as I think about it more and more, and I see the popularity, like the High Rocks or like even just marathons and stuff like that, I really do think that making the open cool and relevant and making it the big community event that it once was is really important. But it needs to start with making sure that each gym is able to produce great coaching and experience out on the floor and package that to people that makes sense to them, other than just saying, hey, yeah, join the gym. Now you can start your competitive programming. And now I want to be this, compete in the sport and all this like that. It goes too far in that direction. And I think we lose a lot of people. And we lose what the whole point of CrossFit was to begin with, which at the top of the pyramid is regularly learn and play new sports. And that big chunk of it has been gone. Read some of these comments real quick, then we'll transition. I prefer class training, but busy schedule, 2 small kids, just got to get dad mode and bang it out. But yeah, I totally get that. There's nothing more convenient than being able to walk right outside of your house and into your own gym. Crazy Souza and so impressive. Thanks, Judy. I appreciate that. But yeah, it was just one of those things that I just wanted to test myself and go for it on. But the point of that being, I really think that CrossFit prepares you for anything, and we need to just talk more about that. Which now we can transition into everybody's least favorite topic ever, the sale of CrossFit. Wait, where's my little, which one did I have it on? Oh, you can't really see the little highlight, huh? Yeah, that didn't work as well as I thought it would. Nope, that's the wrong one. Mayhem. Sale, maybe. Nope, that's comments. Sale, there it is. Oh, it matches my sweatshirt. That's why you can't see the green tint on it. All right, I'll see you later. So what is happening with the sale of CrossFit? Okay, so just to catch you guys up very briefly here, we had these new buyers. I think they're referred to as Mark and Wade. They are coming in apparently with this 90-day exclusivity deal, right? The transparent bubbles are elite. Thanks, Jenny. I appreciate it. So they're coming in with this apparent 90-day exclusivity deal. So what does that mean? Well, apparently they're the front runners as the new bidders for CrossFit, and at the end of January, because I guess they released that in November. So if you figure it'd be November, December, January, at the end of January, apparently they are going to buy CrossFit and it'll be finalized. Now, to Rob's point here, I thought you said we sold in March. Exactly. I think we've been waiting on this next week, and all this crap for so long that everybody is just now completely fatigued of it. And frankly, I've heard a lot of the pitch early on from Malik and what his idea was. I've heard loosely, but not from the horse's mouth, kind of what Wade's idea is and what's going to happen. And I honestly just think that they all are lost. I think they have had success in their respective areas. I think Malik's was mostly just real estate and raising money. And now with Mark and Wade, it's kind of like Mark. So Mark was the guy that started 24-Hour Fitness. He's local here in Oakland, California, was born in Oakland, California. He got the franchise, I think, in the 80s, like 1980, grew it to 400 plus 24-Hour Fitness clubs, and then sold it for $1.6 billion. Then he got involved with Crunch Fitness, rechanged that brand, built a whole financing model behind it, and turned that whole entire thing around from bankruptcy, and it is now doing really well. So when I see a past history of that, I'm going to take this brand that's kind of floundering, not doing so well, switch it into this franchise model, and then be able to grow it, I get worried because I don't believe that CrossFit is the same model as a 24-Hour Fitness or a Crunch Fitness. I think it's something completely different. It's its own beast. And you guys have heard us talk about this in nauseum. But when I look at the 24-hour fitness business model, or the Planet Fitness business model, or the Crunch Fitness business model, it almost flies directly in the face of what we do as CrossFit affiliates. So let me explain. CrossFit affiliate is going to make its money off retention. It's going to make its money off bringing somebody into a gym who's a little intimidated and doesn't know about CrossFit, and then has that person for 10 years who goes, I don't think that I could ever do anything besides CrossFit. It is the core of my fitness. That is how an affiliate is going to make its money. Now, how 24-hour fitness and Planet Fitness do is they basically sell you this idea of fitness. So what I mean by that is they price their gym, and I call it like a lease model, because there's no, I mean, sure, you have personal trainers that are in there, but for the most part, they're just selling you the space with the equipment, right? So you're just leasing a time out of the gym. They price that right at a price that makes sense for you to purchase when you're motivated. And then they drop you down to a price point that will allow you to keep it because you have the thought of you're going to go back or you're going to do the gym, but you just quite don't want to jump through the hoops to cancel it. And that's how they make their money. They have to have a model where 80% or more of the people that are a part of the gym never show up. And then they have to have it at a price point that doesn't make them want to cancel. And they do that with a couple of ways. They reduce the friction for you to sign up. So come in for free, or $3 for 3 days, or whatever the lead magnet is there. And they bring you into the gym, and then they sell you at some low price membership, and then they kind of bump you up there. And then their whole entire job is to try to find the price point that you'll continue to pay because you're going to tell yourself you're going to go back, or you just enjoy the thought of having a gym membership available for you, or you came in at one of these deals that if you cancel it, you won't be able to have that price and it's going to jump up $100 and you still might use it. So it's worth it. However, everybody justifies being able to continue to pay the gym membership to a gym they don't go to. Now with the CrossFit gym, chances are you're not going to do that, because if you don't go to it for a long period of time, it's a significant amount of money in a membership comparatively to these other gyms. So you end up canceling. Haven't been in 3 months, I'm going to cancel it. Haven't been to 24-hour fitness in 3 years, I'm going to keep it because I essentially use it for X and Y. And when I show up there 2 times a year, it's worth it for me. So that is the business model in which he has had success in. And what I'm worried about is he'll have to be able to find some sort of way to grow value for CrossFit, especially if they buy at 200 million or whatever the case may be, more than 200 million, to justify that price point to the investors and to have a path forward. And so what I worry about there is, like, can he change it to a franchise model? Probably not. So then how else would they make money off of it? Well, I think it's going to be turning the affiliates into distribution centers. And what I mean by that is they might come up with, there's third-party partners, whether it's supplements or peptides, I think they mentioned, and essentially try to give you these opportunities as a gym to sell those products out of your gym to make more money. And then they would essentially own or have enough of a rev share of that product to where they make the difference in whatever there is they're selling to the affiliate and whatever the affiliate is selling it for. Outside of that, I don't really know much of what any of these guys plan to do in terms of actually growing it. I think we hear a lot of investment into technology. And we know with Rosa that didn't quite work out so well, because a lot of them want to say, hey, if we have this app, or if we force all of them to use our own gym and operating softwares, or whatever the case may be, that's where we'll end up making our money. And to me, that is... that's not the right business model. That's not the right business model. Kenneth the lap can't beat those prices. I mean, that's exactly it, right? I view the corporate fitness model the same as the issue with, like, the big foods. They'll change the wording on the box to say healthy heart, low fat, healthy alternative, 10 grams of protein. And at the end of the day, you still know the whole entire thing is terrible for you. It's made of sugars and processed carbohydrates, and you shouldn't be eating it anyways. But they're marketing as this health and fitness thing. I think it's the same thing with the gym. They're taking advantage of the psychology of somebody who wants to feel like they're doing the thing, but don't actually do the thing. Oh, I'm going to start running. Well, the first thing I need to do is buy new running shoes. It's like, no, you probably should just go out and run. You don't need to buy anything for it. So they capture that motivation when people are feeling like, hey, I'm going to get back in the gym and I'm going to be motivated. And then they essentially just keep you at that same price point so you never leave. It's not it's not rocket science. It's pretty much Pepsi telling you that this is a diet and it's sugar-free and good for you, even though it's still just liquid sugar and doing the same thing to your body as their other products are. James Hobart, welcome to the show, everybody. I talked about you at the beginning. Doing a great job with the CrossFit podcast. Great job. Chase, what's up, dude? Souza looking like he's getting ready to DJ at a local high school prep rally. You're not wrong. Sevon, current valuation of CrossFit is 140 million. This seems still high, doesn't it? I don't know. It would be. I don't know. I have a feeling that the books aren't looking too great right now. And I would be surprised if the actual valuation was more than 100 million. I'm not saying that they're not going to sell it for more than 100 million, because people will come in and think, you know, I could always out earn stupid, so I can make a stupid decision and I'll just out earn it. But I don't know, that valuation seems like it might be a little high. So needless to say, with the new buyers, so I guess this will kind of transition a little bit into we'll straddle the line between predictions and the sale here. I don't know. I'm gonna predict the fact that I don't think they're gonna buy it in January. That's gonna be where I put my money. I would say that this will be another Malik situation where there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of rubbing elbows with the right people, let's say, right? We know that he's made a call out to Rich Froning, and he's talked to some of the internal staff over at CrossFit or whatever the case may be. And then that leads people to believe like, oh, wow, okay, this is going to be the guy. Well, when I compare that to what happened with Malik, with like Hustle Up sponsoring all this stuff, Malik being able to do like double Chad down in the bowels of the CrossFit Games last year, and all those conversations that would be had, you would think for sure that he would own it by now, and that would have been the buyer. I mean, there was a pretty big splash made around him being the buyer, and nothing happened from it. Nothing came of it. So I have heard from some internal people over at CrossFit that this guy is now close, and I'm doing air quotations for people just listening to that. What does close mean? Well, he's had conversations with a few of them, and apparently there's some meetings with some more execs that are happening now. But what does that actually mean? It could mean everything, and it could mean nothing at all. And that's why I'm leaning towards nothing at all, because part of, in my opinion, the new buyer that comes in, like, you want to really be able to have it resonate with the community. And I don't know if a app celebrity endorsement distribution center, now the affiliates are distribution centers, I don't know if that's really going to resonate with the CrossFit community. And ultimately, the question becomes, does that even matter to Berkshire? Like, if they show up and they have the money, does it matter if the community has warm and fuzzy feelings about this new potential owner? I don't think so. But at the same time, I don't think Berkshire is going to get enough money from these people that would allow them to sell it off without that. The Gaines Lab, I don't think Souza knows who Hormozy is. Thank you. Never heard the guy. Sale model is gym launch. Hormozy. Okay. Tyler Watkins. Let's see. I put my estimate at 120 million when the accountant would look at, but it's worth more. It's worth more right now, or it's worth more in the hands of the right person? That's what I'm wondering. The only thing Wade is buying is a pair of the PBD shoes. Dude, he advertises those shoes so much. I'm like, I'm sick of the shoes. I am sick of the shoes. It's the whole crying wolf story all over again. I don't give a fuck anymore. Yeah. And you're not wrong. I think all of us are just completely just fatigued of here comes a new buyer and their idea is very similar to the last buyer's idea, and they have an exclusivity deal, and next week we're going to hear, and next month we're going to hear, and at some point everybody just gets sick of it. And the unfortunate thing about this whole entire mess, two things in my opinion. Number one was Don initially coming out and saying, yes, the company is for sale. He had said that all along in the sense of, we're a private equity company, so this is what we do. We added value to the business, and then we sell the business for more than we purchased it for. We get that. But there was a little bit more of an announcement that was made months back that I think was a mistake on his part for two reasons. Number one, it was not good for the staff internally to have to go through the ups and downs of if we're going to sell and if we're not. The fact that a lot of these potential buyers got to meet with a lot of the executives and things makes that even way worse, because now all of them are either jockeying for their jobs, or meaning like internally fighting each other, kind of going over each other and being like, well, I did this, or I did this idea. So that way they get some credit in the new buyer that comes in. Essentially you could look at it and go, oh, wow, so-and-so has been working a lot here and has done these recent changes. Good job. We're going to keep you, and we're going to fire the person underneath you. So you have a lot of that internal struggle, a lot of the internal jockeying that's happening. And the second thing is you have this massive conversation around the sale and what's going to happen with your however many affiliates are left now, 9,000 of them. And that is not good, because nothing's seemingly to really get done, and there's not a path forward. Everybody's just been in this like weird holding pattern. And in fact, until we saw Don on the CrossFit podcast a couple weeks ago, nobody had seen or heard from him since really the games. And even that was very minimal. That is concerning, because what the hell is he up to? And then if he's not around, is that showing kind of the same internal leadership that's happening? Or is he like fully focused and on board and like kicking ass internally, and we just don't see it? I don't know. It seems a little strange that his absence has taken place, and who knows what that means internally. Obviously I don't work for CrossFit, so I don't know. Maybe he's still making big waves there in leading internally more than he is leading externally. In my opinion, and you guys know this, is CrossFit is a media company first that sells licensing as a gym and education seminars around coaching. And the big gap in that right now is their ability to actually produce enough media to be completely relevant. And how are they able to do that if they don't really know what's going to happen, and if they don't really have a lot of direction on what to actually produce or know how to do it? I don't know. It reminds me of what they were talking about at the Mayhem thing, which is like, hey, if you guys aren't doing the methodology, if you guys aren't doing these workouts, if you guys aren't taking your own classes, if you're not participating actively in the thing at the lower level inside the class experience and at the higher level of running and operating your gym, then how do you really know what it is you're actually doing and providing? And I think that there's a lot to be said for that. And it's a little bit different than just showing up and taking CrossFit classes. It's a little bit different than just going to the L1. I think we got spoiled at the beginning. And I know people are going to say, oh, this, all you guys are just talk about the glory days and just want it to be how it was in the past. And to a certain extent, yeah, that's true. I'm guilty of it. But the main thing that I want it to be of how it was at the past is just true believers in CrossFit, in what it could do for other people, and that practice what they preach at a lowest and then the highest level. And like I said, just going to an affiliate, it almost feels a little smoke and mirrors if you weren't really kind of bought in completely before you had the job. It's like, I don't know. I don't really eat beef jerky, but now that I work at this beef jerky place, I love it and I eat all their beef jerky. It's like, well, yeah, of course you do. But like, did you feel about that? Did you feel that same way before you had the job? And I think Sevon refers to it as institutional knowledge. That's something that if you were going to hire a consultant, you would hire a lot of those people in terms of, hey, what'd you guys do at the beginning? What worked? What didn't? What do you think would still work now? And then start to apply a lot of those ideas. And you could tell that it's a little lost with a lot of the recycled old stuff that CrossFit was and never really got away from. It just wasn't talked about as much, now being regurgitated as like new campaigns. I just don't think that's going to cut it. And the other piece of it too is the relationship factor. Is CrossFit as a partner historically and has always been a little tough to work with, but there's been people that have worked with CrossFit when Greg was at the helm and people that are working with CrossFit now. And from what I heard, it's quite a bit harder now than it was then. And of course it's going to be, because there's no real direction. There's not a lot of leadership, and everybody's compartmentalized and kind of siloed off into their own areas, at least from what it looks like on the outside in. And it would be hard to be able to streamline that communication, develop the relationships with the right people in the health and fitness space, and then be able to leverage that in terms of media and everything else. I was chatting a little bit with Hiller about the video that he made for World Fitness Project in terms of, here's how I do the events. I would bring in like these celebrities as part of the event and just essentially cultivate a bunch of attention from other people in the space. And when I saw that, I was like, yeah, that's it. You need some sort of innovative way that brings in other people that are CrossFit adjacent, but have their own space carved out in the health and fitness area. And when you're able to do that and leverage their platforms and their media, you're able to create a bunch of attention with their audience and kind of bring people into the fold. They kind of did it with Jocko, but I don't think Jocko was all in. I think for him, it was a transactional thing to sell more of his like protein shake, just to be honest. I mean, we had this pre-recorded thing that they released for the Open, our biggest event, and he's not going to be there. Like, they can get a new partner, in my opinion. And the other thing too is you need to have a really highly educated spokesperson on CrossFit, specifically the methodology, how it applies to everybody across the board. And they need to go on like this massive podcast tour with like all the popular podcasts and places you could be inside the space. Like, that is the way to like recreate attention back around CrossFit. But you need to have the right person in there that's going to be able to intelligently defend it and speak about it to a wide audience. Again, going back to the ability to be able to package that for the person that's in front of you. And affiliate owners that have been around for a long time and are successful, I imagine know exactly how to do that, because they've been doing it through their whole entire coaching career, and they've been doing it the whole entire time they've owned an affiliate. So again, to wrap that up in a bow, predictions. I don't think it'll close at the end of January. I don't think so. I think it's still got a little bit of ways to go. I could be wrong, but at this point, I think we all feel the same way. That we don't really care that much anymore, because we're all fatigued of it. And it's the same song and dance as it's been for the whole entire year. The last piece of this is the Open. Now, I think it's really important to make the Open cool again. And I was talking about it with someone at Mayhem. And I think one of the biggest mistakes was the loss of regionals, or what regionals offered. And I know it's never been the same each year. It's kind of always like evolved. But there was something to be said about having a regional. And for us, it was like NorCal, and there was SoCal before they kind of started to combine them. But when you had all those different regions and you had this in-person event, local one, right? But put on by CrossFit. And then you had the teams, which was like the fittest affiliate at the time. And I still think that they could bring this back in a certain way. It brought a ton of people to those local events. It was like the holy grail of your local competition. And everybody that got involved with CrossFit when they were young, when they were, maybe in their early 20s, or maybe later on, if you want to do the whole masters thing, you would come in and you'd be like, I want to make it to regionals. Like, I want to be able to do that. And the path with that was through the Open. And I think that was a huge glue to the community not only inside of the affiliates when they would host the open workouts and everybody would have like the Friday night lights and the barbecues and stuff, but on top of that, like going to support the local athlete that's inside your gym, whether it's team or individual, at that local comp that was close enough for you to be able to drive to inside of your area was huge. Because now not only did it give like an incentive, this like carrot that just seemed far enough out that I could just about touch it, but it also developed exactly what CrossFix is saying here, a mini Woodstock in your community. And I don't know what that would look like now because you have like a lot of participants and the level, you know, has risen to a certain point. But I do think that that local level in-person competition is super important. And they're trying to bring it back with semifinals a little bit here, but I think it should be done by CrossFit for the most part. And the formatting should look very similar to how it was in the past. I liked that streamlined formatting where everybody did the same workouts too, because week 1, you got to see whatever scores and at these different regionals. By the time they finished with like week 4, how many weeks there were of it, everybody had it dialed in and you got to see it at a higher level, and it didn't matter because you were just competing within your respective regional. And I think that consistency and easy explanation too, stage 1, 2, and 3, made it easy for anybody who is coming into the fold that might be interested in the CrossFit Games and watching the CrossFit Games. And so I think without dialing in the open, and this year I think is going to be a big year for the open. I also think it's going to be a big year for CrossFit 2026. In my mind, it's a little bit of a make or break, because if they don't really make some bigger moves and this thing doesn't sell in terms of Berkshire, if they can't offload it to somebody else after this year, I think they're going to be in some serious trouble. Serious trouble. And I don't know exactly if I'm supposed to say or talk too much about it, but I know that there's a lot of data coming out about the open soon. And I think the data there is super important because it almost mimics a little bit of like what affiliates would be experiencing. In the early years, people just showed up, they jumped right in, they loved it, everybody was head over heels for it. And then as the open goes on, or as your affiliate goes on, like how many of those original people do you still have? How many of them have fallen off? Why did they fall off? Is your whole group aging up? And are we not doing a better, good enough job at capturing more next generation CrossFitters? Those numbers might be very similar to what affiliates are experiencing, and we're gonna have to evolve. And I won't bore you guys again with my plans of what that evolution looks like. I posted a week or two ago the pitch that I kind of went rogue with at Affiliate Con. It was the second day, and I was talking with Jay, and I was like, hey, do you want to add some slides to the back end of this? And I'll just kind of have fun at the very end of it and just say, hey, would you guys like to hear my pitch for what I would do if I owned CrossFit? The crowd that was there was into it, and we went through 3 or 4 of those slides or whatever. So if you guys want to check that out, you could go ahead and watch it there. And it goes into somewhat of detail about it. But I do think that switching all of CrossFit's messaging to continue to push the methodology and the validation of the methodology as preventative healthcare gives affiliates an opportunity to continue to put themselves as a leader in the space and experts in the space. But it would take quite a bit to turn that thing around, and you would have to have an owner of CrossFit that was willing to invest quite a bit into that idea, but also had the institutional knowledge to have it make sense. So that's pretty much where we're at. That if you haven't already, like and subscribe. Go over to the Three Playing Brothers YouTube channel and watch some of that stuff. I've been enjoying the evolution of the editing and the filming there. CrossFix was a great talk, Souza. Thank you very much. Sevon, I could easily turn CrossFit around. I don't doubt it for a second. We just needed some money. Thought we were getting close, but no cigar. Just scrolling through some of these other comments. Alex Gloom, why don't you think the books look great, Matt? Mostly because I think seminar sales have started to slow down. I think in-person education has started to slow down as a total, but I think the seminar sales started to slow down. And I think they're struggling to keep affiliates on board. And so I think the combination of those two things would result in revenue being down without necessarily a clear path on how to grow it. and I don't think it's going to be t-shirt sales. And please, nobody conflate this, especially if you're watching from HQ, as me being critical of you, like personally. I know you guys are up against a bunch of constraints. I know you guys are swimming upstream in a lot of different ways. And so, you know, that doesn't go unnoticed by me. So please don't take it personally. But I do obviously have strong opinions about how it should be ran and what we should be doing. Below Babs 22. Wow, you did that whole run without any support at all. Yeah. Nope, just ran it. Tried to eat as much real food as I could the whole entire time, and stretch in between each run. That was pretty much my whole plan. But yeah, did not have a support crew following me around or anything like that. All right, gang. I will talk to you guys next time. This is the official restart of the show. I think Thursday is going to be the day. I was going to do the 10 a.m., but I realized this morning that it conflicts with the CrossFit podcast. And I would hate to have to compete with the wonderful James Hobart. So we'll probably be doing it at 11 or 11:30. It's a good time for me to get consistent about it. Any topics you guys want to go over, drop it in the comments. But we're mostly going to be riding the line of affiliates, coaching, what's going on in the space. And we'll be talking a little bit about healthcare as well, because I've been getting myself more and more educated in the realm of health insurance companies and the government and how that all goes. And let me tell you, it is one hell of a mess. Souza as a new CEO. Thanks, Magnus. Appreciate it. Jody on the cabinets. Who here is not subscribed? I don't know. Maybe somebody. Maybe we brought somebody in from the ether that's not subscribed. Hopefully when Sevon gets back, I could do a live call-in. I've been coaching a ton at the gym and been really investing in kind of the health stuff and the offers that we're creating, and like hopefully all that really works and brings people into gyms, and we could give it to affiliate owners for free. We've already been doing a little bit of that. So I haven't been able to make the 7 a.m. live call-in show in a while, just with my current coaching schedule, hence also being in here too. It just makes for an easy convenience. Someone said thanks, or like the decorations there. Yeah, we're all festive here with the Christmas. But I want to get on. I want to do a live show, and I want to talk to him about the Nick Fuentes and Pierce Morgan interview. I don't know if any of you guys saw that. But it was pretty funny for multiple reasons. But we'll be keeping these shows mostly about CrossFit. It's interesting. You can't really talk about health and fitness and avoid politics altogether, because they're quite intertwined these days. Quite intertwined. Bring back the regular Souza show. Yep. Weekly. We're going to go for it. All right, gang. Thank you, guys. First one down. Rocking and rolling. We'll find out. We'll keep you updated on everything CrossFit stale. And hopefully we brought some clarity on exactly what Mayhem has to offer. I think they got something good going on there with the best hour of their day guys as well. Be good to each other. Have a great day.